Benefactor underwriting for this broadcast has been provided by a grant from Republic Bank. The power of red is back. Major underwriting support for this broadcast has been provided by grants from New York Community Bank, M&T Bank, Perfect Building Maintenance, Customers Bank, Collins Building Services, Marks Paneth. Additional underwriting support has been provided by grants from AmTrust Title, Bank of America, Capital One Bank, Douglaston Development Levine Builders, Flushing Bank, Friedman LLP, Handro Properties LLC, Handler Real Estate Organization, Investors Bank, James D. Kuhn Real Estate Institute at Syracuse University, John Catsimatidis Red Apple Group, New Banks, Meridian Capital Group, Ocean First Bank, RPW Group, TD Bank, the One Stop Property Group, and these friends. What makes the #1 hospital in New York and the #1 hospital in the nation? Leadership, people with visions, people who have the fortitude and the ambition to make the best. Today, I'm very fortunate to have the visionaries behind the NYU Langone Health, the people who have made this an institution who 15 years ago was rated number 60, and today they're #1. I have Robert Grossman, who is the CEO of the NYU Langone Health, who is the Dean of the NYU Grossman School of Medicine. And I have his good friend, partner, visionary, Ken Langone, who's the chairman of the board of the NYU Langone Health, who is also the chairman of the board of Invemed operations over there. So, Bob, when you met this guy over here, the kid from Roslyn, okay, what did you think, okay, you were getting involved with? You know, you were a nice guy working at the University of Pennsylvania, okay? You had no problems over there. You came over here to a place who was a nice institution who needed some work, but who needed a new chairman of the Department of Radiology. What did you meet when you got scared to meet Ken Langone?
Right. Well, Ken is a larger-than-life person, and everybody knows it. And you know, his aura and his legend are enormous. And you know, I say he is the GOAT, the greatest of all times. He's the greatest chairman in the United States, bar none. And he's the most generous person I know. And he is incredibly intelligent and insightful. So, you know, meeting Ken was a unique privilege, but it's also very intimidating.
But here's the big point of view, okay? Here's a guy who grew up in Long Island, has been a great businessman, very successful. How do you decide? You had been involved with NYU in general over the years. How do you decide
with a business school?
Okay. How do you decide to get involved with an institution that had made a deal with the Mount Sinai Health? Today, people don't realize that there was an NYU Mount Sinai merger signed. There were namings, different locations, different facilities. How'd that happen?
Well, first of all, it was a merger from hell, if you want to describe it correctly. They hated
I was
us.
being nice.
Well, they hated us and we hated them. It was a mistake from the first day. Bob, we had a real mess in radiology. I mean, every place you looked, we had a mess. We had a special mess in radiology. And when I had a chance to interview Bob, I knew the guy was a winner. There was a passion, there was a sense of purpose, there was a spirit that you just knew. Put this guy on the racetrack and he'll win every race. And so we had to have him, and we had a great need. And by the way, we had a great need in every respect: technology, We were using radiology probably from the 18th century. I'm being facetious, of course, but what I'm saying is he had a vision, and when you met with him, he didn't just talk about taking the job. He knew what he wanted to do if he got the job.
We had an institution who was behind the time, okay?
Yep.
You had a chairman who had been there for about 30 years. You had a dean who was a wonderful individual who had also been there about for 35 years. And you had nobody really making any visionary. And part of the things that the two of you worked on was the deal with Siemens. Let's talk about that.
That was him.
Yeah. So we, so it wouldn't have happened without Ken. You know, you want to talk about integrity. Here's a guy on the board of General Electric, great friends with Jack Welch. And I said to him, I think we ought to do a bake-off between Siemens and General Electric.
And Philips was in that too, weren't they? Weren't Philips in it at that point?
Philips was not. We just did General Electric and Siemens in the end. And he recused himself. We studied it. He appointed a 3-member panel of board members to oversee the process. In the end, for a lot of compelling reasons, we chose Siemens. I then told him the choice, and he said, absolutely, is it the best for the institution? Was the best, and that was it. There was nothing else.
How do you transform yourself from a hospital-based system to an ambulatory-based system to operate efficiently and to change this, okay? How'd that happen?
Well, picking him.
No, it happened with both of you, okay?
No, well, you know, let me back up for a minute. You asked about my showing up here. Marty Lipton has gotten me out of every tight spot I've been in my life. And I could never say no. Marty asked me to take this job. I didn't even know they had a medical school. I didn't even know they had a medical center, very honest. And leadership is critical to anything you're going to try to accomplish in life. It's the most important thing of all. Back to the interview when I met him, he knew what he needed to do to make it a very successful radiology program, including stature. And so how it happened was finding a leader and making sure he has all the tools he needs, and all the tools that are required to get the job done. Now, that was a tall order because we didn't have that much financial standing. And watching him engineer, I should say, negotiate and manage the relationship with Siemens was a thing of brilliance.
But from Siemens, then 6 years later, when you were invested as the dean, okay, we had seen a number of changes and some things that people don't realize, that within the first week of you taking over, you fired 5 of your senior executives, okay? And as it was written in a book about you, okay, you had no board membership background. Your background didn't tell you how to operate a business. You didn't go for a master's in business. You had a PhD, you had a number of other areas of expertise, but business operation was not your expertise. This man was a business operation expertise. So the combination of the two of you, but how did the two of you make a decision to change from a freestanding hospital, okay, which needed an addition, which you've done with the Kimball situation over there, okay? I remember the cancer center. You've made this into a world-class cancer, NIH cancer center over there, one of the few in the country. So how do you decide to get rid of these people who are fine people, but they weren't helping the cog of the system to grow?
Right. So there are a couple steps here, and the first thing was we had to restructure the enterprise from the traditional school and hospital to an integrated academic medical center, and that was very important because in the traditional school and the hospital, people who are on the school side compete with people who are on the hospital side. So the competition is within, and the competition is actually external. So that was one thing, and Ken really helped in getting that idea through our board. It's not so easy, and part of that idea was having a dean CEO as opposed to a dean and CEO. And then every member of every senior member of the administration has two titles, a hospital title and a school title. So we eliminated the title of president of the hospital. And what I said was, what does the president do? Volume and throughput. So one person does volume, Andy Brotman, and one person does throughput, Fritz Francois. And I actually annealed, it was Bernie Birnbaum initially and Andy Brotman. And we annealed these two people together, and we eliminated the competition between the school and the hospital. The second observation was we wanted to be patient-centered, and part of being patient-centered is delivering care locally. So we leveraged our business model to be ambulatory. And Andy Brotman and Andrew Rubin and the team have developed an enormous ambulatory business, over 300 sites in the New York metropolitan area. The third thing we did was invest heavily in IT early on. And we were early adopters of Epic, and we customized Epic. Then we held people accountable, metricized them. And then we presented an audacious vision early on to be a world-class, patient-centered, integrated academic institution. And then we communicated that vision and held everybody accountable. And Ken was there all the time, making sure there were no end runs.
So as opposed to certain other institutions who have had 25 hospitals, okay, or the supplement over there, you've maintained a limited number of hospitals, okay? You've increased your ambulatory care.
Right.
So let's talk about certain of the implementations of what made you a world-class institution. Let's talk about the old Lutheran, now known as Langone Brooklyn. That is a true success story.
Apropos Bob's summary of how we did what we did, there was another factor here. Thank God Marty Lipton was chairman of the university. Early on, Marty and I sat down and I said, Marty, the university's got to be hands off. We have to do these things up here. They got to be done. I can't describe enough my gratitude to Marty for making sure there was no interference from down there, because it was a bold move. We needed to take a place that was really a shambles, and it needed a lot of love and it needed a lot of money. And the deal we made was we're on our own. And that's very important. Now, about Lutheran, I think Bob's better suited to describe what we saw in Lutheran and what we did, because it was his vision again in Lutheran.
But it's a teamwork, okay? The mechanics work.
He's a quarterback. I'm a guy on the line making sure he doesn't get hurt, okay? That's my job.
You're on the line also screaming like Manning, telling his team how to do.
I'm perimeter defense. I'm to make sure he's in the pocket and he's got all the time he needs to throw touchdown passes. That was my role.
Well, we also have a great individual who runs NYU Langone Brooklyn, Brett Rudy.
Yeah, who's been on my show in the past.
Who's done a fantastic job, and his whole team is really wonderful. And it took a number of years, but we transformed this hospital, and we thought it was really important to be in Brooklyn. We had a lot of patients from Brooklyn, and we took Brooklyn. The hospital is in Sunset Park, a place where there is the highest concentration of Medicaid in the United States, or one of the highest concentrations, and we transformed it to an institution that has the same metrics, the same objective criteria about quality as Manhattan. And that is an unbelievable performance. Their turnover time in their operating rooms is about 30 minutes, the same as ours. Their length of stay is the same. Their mortality rate,
infection rates,
is lower than ours. It's an amazing place.
And what about NYU Langone Winthrop, or Long Island?
Long Island. So that was another situation where strategically it made a lot of sense for us to be on Long Island, particularly we're close to Queens on the east side. And we found this hospital that was aligned with our hospital culturally and needed, again, as Ken talked about didn't have the finances to really transform it. And we worked with their board. They saw value in what we did. And not only have we created a great institution, but we also created a second medical school for primary care.
Let's talk about the secondary medical school, the medical school today, and also about expansion to Florida and other areas that you've done.
Well, when you look at what we've accomplished at the medical school, which again is Bob's vision, we were okay as a medical school. We were a lot better than we got recognition for, that's for sure. We had a great medical school. We just didn't get the recognition we deserved. A lot of that reason was how we presented ourselves. And remember this, the mindset of the university toward the medical center was it was a big black hole that if they weren't careful, it was going to suck the university in. And that was a big motive for them, part of the big motive for leaving us alone. Early on, Bob recognized that there was a lot we could do to have better recognition as a medical school. We had some fabulous doctors that went on to great practices. We had people like Frank Spencer, who was really the unsung hero of open heart surgery in the world. And so we had the skeleton was there. Bob saw the way forward in terms of taking the medical school, if it was here, to here, and that's exactly what's happened. And it takes money. And this is where the Board of Trustees, not just me, the Board of Trustees deserves a lot of credit. We went out, we wrote our own checks, we brought other people in who could write checks, and we've raised over $4 billion since Bob started in philanthropy. And we're nowhere near done.
All right. Let's talk about the free tuition, because free tuition had both effect on your parents mortgaged their home originally so you could go to college. Your parents was a totally different case, but I
was a scholarship kid.
You were a scholarship, and you realized the value of the scholarship.
The first day the day he got inaugurated, after the ceremony, we're walking back to his office. I'll never forget it. And I said, "Okay, Bob, what's on your shopping list? What do you want?" And he said, without thinking, "I'd love one day for our medical school to be tuition free." And I said, "Bob, we're going to do it." Now, I didn't realize what it took to do it or how long it would take to do it, but guess what? We did it.
But that's part of the reason that we're the #1 hospital and not #1 hospital in the nation, because of the combination of the leadership.
Yeah.
Okay, leadership is so important. It's a skill that it's in your system, but you have to ignite the switch to create it.
He did it.
Well, I think our leaders also have to be creative, courageous, and be able to actually have a vision and deliver on the vision. It's not, you could have a great vision. So we could say we want a tuition-free medical school, but unless you partner with Kenneth Langone, it wasn't going to happen. The other thing I would say about our medical school and our institution is the quality of our research. So we have a great head of research, Daphna Barsagi, and today we're #1 in NIH dollars per investigator, which is huge, huge. So our research, all the components of a great academic medical center, clinical care, research, and education, where we have a 3-year MD, tuition-free medical school, all of those things encompass a great health system.
So let's talk about the 3-year MD.
Yeah, so we thought, again, the structure of medical schools is traditionally 4 years, but there's no real reason why it has to be 4 years. This came from a Flexner report at the beginning of the 20th century, and what we found were a lot of students were spending their 4th year auditioning for internships. So it was costing their parents money for the tuition, and they weren't even in medical school. And we thought, because of that, because students today, as opposed to 50 years ago, are coming in so much more qualified for medical school, that a 3-year program was something that we wanted to do. We started it 13 years ago. We have a little less than 200 graduates, and this year we're going to be a 3-year full-time for everybody, 3-year program.
For both schools?
Both schools are 3 years. And the one in Long Island has been 3 years. We had our first graduating class, and they did great getting into internships. The reason the 3-year is important for two things. First, it saves money. Whether we're tuition free, but there's still expenses. And the second thing is the training is really in your residency and fellowship, and those have expanded over over years. So some of them, including fellowship, the training programs are over 10 years in duration. That is way too long. So if you can cut out a year, it's very meaningful.
Major effect.
That's something else. In the year 2030, that's 7 years from now, America is going to be short 30,000 OBGYN, 30,000 pediatrician, and 50,000 primary care. Now these are specialties that frankly don't pay as well as some of your other specialties. And part of the reason you got that shortage is the kids are looking at radiology, they're looking at orthopedics, they're looking at cardiovascular, all those specialties. We think there's a better chance of a kid opting for one of these specialties if they leave medical school with no debt. A lot of people go into higher paying specialties because it's a way to generate a lot more money to pay off your debt. That was one thing. The other thing, and I'm absolutely convinced beyond a shadow of a doubt, the person who's running the medical school has to be the same person that's running the hospital. There must be a seamless, absolutely totally seamless relationship between the two. Because much of what you do with a student happens in the hospital. And if you've got this need for collaborative effort at the top, you always have the chance of having a stalemate or having inertia happen. And the third thing is, whoever that person is, in my mind, be a doctor. Got to be a doctor. He's got to understand that the people that he's leading, the people that work with him.
So just imagine if he would have got business experience earlier in his life. No, he would have even been a greater leader than he is today.
Michael, he was a natural business. He understood a balance sheet. He understood an income. Honest to God, I marveled at the competence he demonstrated.
Because he ran a large radiation.
Well, that exactly. He
had the experience over there. But
I tell kids, if you have a choice to be lucky or smart, take lucky every time. We were lucky that we got him when we got him to come in and run radiology. We were lucky to make sure, very frankly, that the search committee understood we had the guy in-house. We had to go through all these, philanthropy, chronicle of higher education and all this other crap. And we made an effort to make sure we looked outside. But also, we also understood that unless it was somebody who was singularly special, we had the guy. Now, I'll tell you something else. Right today, there isn't much left for us to be recognized for. This is where complacency steps in. This is where you start going making speeches in Chicago and LA, and this is how I did it. You go to symposiums in Hong Kong or whatever. We're already, him, he's already got me mashugana about a campus on Long Island to replace many others. Wait a minute, why don't we just take a few victory laps? There are no victory laps with this guy. There's just preparation for the next race. That's important.
See, Bob has been on my other show where we do live stories, and he heard the acronym that I talk about people. The acronym that I talk about people who are successful is an acronym of the two of you and the acronym of the NYU Langone Health. T, tenacious leaders, okay? The most tenacious individuals one may know. A, been able to adapt. Take from the hospital system to the ambulatory care system, to the changes, to becoming a leading institution, to be at the forefront of all these major surgeries, okay? L, you said it before, luck, okay? You were lucky to find him.
Absolutely.
You were lucky to have a great staff, great directors, great trustees. And S, You've always been there to seize the opportunity.
There's one more thing that he's got, the good Lord gave him: a lack of ego. If anybody deserves a huge ego based on accomplishments, this guy deserves it. The relationship that he and I have, frankly, is more like an older brother and younger brother than there is me. And you know, again, in his category, what he's accomplished in life, professionally, what he's done with leadership here, the recognition that's now properly coming to him for what he did here. But the fact of the matter is, we both delight in each other's success. We're not competitive, we're compatible. I can't think of a better thing in life than to go around bragging that he's my partner.
And you know, I think one thing that no one could forget is when you told him one day they were changing the name of the medical school, okay, he was shocked.
That was a great night.
Okay,
that was a great night.
Great night.
He had no knowledge. The NYU School of Medicine is now a tuition-free medical school for all MD students.
So one thing I'd like to say, I'm happy that I've been part of the NYU Langone Health over the years.
Stay healthy.
I'm happy that it's such a great success, but nobody measures the success. You're going to continue onward and over, okay, forward. I'd like to thank Bob Grossman and Ken Langone for being here today. See you next week.
Thank you,
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you very much.
You.
It's a great day for us to be honored to be asked to be here.
Thank you.
Yeah, great day, really. Thank you.
Nice implementation.
Thank you for your kind words, too.
You really are, and let me tell you.